Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty complex.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
It's about parental concerns, when there's a big age gap in a teenager's relationship.
Especially when that teenager is under 18.
Exactly. It stirs up a lot of feelings, and maybe you've seen this play out or, well, even been there yourself. We want to go a bit deeper than just gut reactions.
Absolutely. We're not here to judge, but to really understand why these situations cause so much worry.
And we've pulled together a lot of different viewpoints for this deep dive.
Yeah, everything from online comments, parents sharing their side,
People who've actually been in these kinds of relationships.
plus some really important legal and psychological perspectives too. It gives us a much fuller picture.
So our goal today is to unpack the core issues, the anxieties, the potential red flags when you have this significant age difference with a minor involved.
Hopefully giving you a more informed perspective by the end.
Okay, so let's dive in. The first place to start seems obvious. The parents.
Right. That protective instinct.
It really feels like that's the foundation for most of the concern.
It absolutely is. I mean, parents are wired to protect their kids, right? Their safety, their well-being.
That extends to their relationships, especially during those really formative teenage years.
Definitely. When they're still, developing.
We saw this really clearly in a comment from Mike Peterson on Quora.
Oh, yeah. What'd he say?
He was basically saying, your mom is looking out for you. He pointed out that at 17 and 28,
Big difference.
you're just in vastly different phases of life.
Yeah.
And he framed it as, look, the boundaries are there for a reason.
Mhm.
She's trying to shield you from someone whose judgment might be questionable for pursuing a minor in the first place.
That really hits on the life experience gap, doesn't it? It's not just the years.
Not at all.
It's the milestones, the development. A 28-year-old has probably started a career, maybe they're financially independent, have a clearer sense of self.
Things a 17-year-old is just starting to grapple with.
Exactly.
And then there was Sarah Wilson, a mother we heard from. She kind of honed in on the older person's motives.
Yeah, what is her take?
She asked, pretty bluntly, why would someone almost 30 want to date someone not even out of high school?
Yeah.
And what does that say about their maturity, their ability to relate to their own peers?
It's a tough question, but one parents definitely ask, and it leads right into the developmental reality, the brain science bit.
Right. This is crucial, isn't it? The brain development aspect.
It really is. We have to remember the teenage brain is still under construction, basically.
Especially the prefrontal cortex.
Exactly. That's the bit responsible for judgment, planning, thinking about consequences.
Yeah.
And it's not fully cooked until maybe the mid-20s.
So even if a teenager feels really mature, their brain's hardware for risk assessment just isn't the same as someone, say, 10 years older.
Precisely. And Dr. Jennifer Lawrence made this point really well, that developmental gap creates an inherent power imbalance. Well, the older person usually has more life experience, often more financial independence, maybe a more developed ability to make decisions or, influence things.
And that imbalance can create vulnerabilities for the younger person.
It can, yeah. Even if it's not intentional manipulation, that power difference exists, and it can lead to unhealthy dynamics.
Okay, and this connects directly to the legal side of things, which adds another layer entirely.
A very serious layer.
It's not just about feelings or family rules, there are actual laws involved.
Absolutely. Melissa Torres, an attorney, pointed this out. Depending on where you live, the older person could be facing serious legal trouble.
And these laws protecting minors, they're not just random numbers, are they?
Not at all. They're often based on psychological research, on understanding typical developmental stages, and unfortunately, on patterns seen in predatory or exploitative relationships.
So the law recognizes that power imbalance and the potential for harm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It tries to offer protection.
And James Miller added another interesting point.
What was that?
That even if the relationship isn't strictly illegal based on age of consent laws, there might be other laws. Things about positions of trust or authority.
Oh, right. Like a teacher or coach situation, perhaps?
Could be. And he also mentioned that parents might still have legal options to intervene, even if no crime has technically been committed.
So the legal system essentially reinforces the societal concern about these age gaps when minors are involved.
Okay, so let's shift a bit. Let's talk about red flags. What are the actual warning signs people should look out for?
This is really important stuff. Rebecca Quinn laid out some key things to watch for.
Like what?
She asked questions like, is the older person encouraging secrecy? pushing you to hide the relationship from parents or friends?
That's a classic one.
Or are they trying to isolate you from friends your own age, making you feel like you're somehow special or different from other teenagers?
Saying things like, "You're so mature for your age."
Exactly. That kind of talk. She framed these as potential grooming tactics, ways to build dependence and control.
Wow. That's quite chilling when you hear it laid out like that.
It is, and David Chen's personal story really brought this home.
He was the younger person.
Yeah, he was 19 when his relationship started with someone older, and he remembered his partner always talking about how mature he was.
While at the same time.
While at the same time, the partner was basically making all the big decisions for him.
So using that maturity compliment to kind of mask the control.
It seems that way looking back, and David said he only really saw it clearly much later.
Which highlights how hard it can be to see these dynamics when you're in the middle of them.
Definitely. Which is why hearing from people who've been through it is so valuable.
Yeah, those firsthand accounts really offer a different kind of insight.
Incredibly powerful. Like Taylor Johnson. She shared that when she was 16, she thought her 26-year-old boyfriend was just, amazing.
And her parents.
Deeply concerned, naturally. But Taylor said looking back, years later, she realized he wasn't mature for liking her. He was likely immature and maybe struggled with relationships with women his own age.
So her parents kind of saw something she couldn't at the time.
It often works out that way. Hindsight is 20/20.
And then there was Alex Rivera's story, a slightly different angle.
Right. Alex felt super mature at 17, dating someone who was 27, totally capable, But then fast forward, when Alex reached 27, they thought about dating a 17-year-old.
And it felt wrong.
Completely inappropriate. That shift in perspective once they were in the older person's shoes was really stark for them.
That's fascinating. That feeling of maturity at 17 maybe wasn't quite what it seemed.
It seems like it can be easily influenced by the relationship dynamic itself. A recurring theme, really.
Okay, so this is all quite heavy. If you're a teenager listening to this, maybe in this situation, or you know someone who is, what are some constructive steps? What can people actually do?
Well, Maria Patel, a counselor, suggested something really practical instead of getting defensive with parents.
Which is the natural reaction sometimes.
Totally. But she suggested trying to open a dialogue. Ask them, okay, I hear you're worried. Can you tell me specifically what worries you?
So showing you're willing to listen, trying to understand their view.
Exactly. It shows maturity in itself and might uncover concerns you hadn't thought about.
That communication piece feels vital. What else?
Dr. Robert Williams, an educational psychologist, brought up the idea of pausing the relationship.
Just hitting pause? Until when?
Until both people are legal adults. His thinking was it gives the younger person crucial space.
Space for what?
Space to focus on their own growth, their education, becoming independent, figuring themselves out without the complexities of that kind of age gap relationship.
And he added something important, didn't he?
Yeah, he pointed out that if the connection is real and the older person genuinely cares, they should respect that need for space and be willing to wait.
That's a pretty good test of intentions, maybe.
It could be, yeah. It prioritizes the younger person's development.
So, pulling these constructive ideas together, we're talking about talking openly with parents.
Really listening to their specific concerns.
Doing some honest self-reflection on the relationship's dynamics.
Asking yourself tough questions. Maybe seeking outside perspectives from other trusted adults, too.
Right. And prioritizing your own personal growth during these really key teenage years.
Focusing on school, friends, hobbies, becoming your own person.
And finally, seriously considering the timing. Is now the right time for this kind of relationship.
Exactly. That timing point is huge. If it's meant to be, waiting until both people are adults on more equal footing.
That can actually strengthen the relationship and show real respect.
It demonstrates genuine care for each other's well-being, not just immediate gratification.
So, wrapping things up here. It seems clear that while age gaps aren't automatically bad between consenting adults,
the dynamic shifts dramatically when a developing teenager is involved.
The caution flags we heard about seem really important to heed.
Absolutely. That quote from Jordan Smith really resonated.
Remind us.
Basically, a healthy partner respects boundaries and cares about your well-being more than their own desires.
And anyone pushing for secrets or telling you to ignore your parents' worries.
Or rushing things, that's probably demonstrating why those concerns exist in the first place. It's a massive red flag itself.
That's such a crucial point. Healthy love should build you upright.
It should be respectful, supportive, and prioritize what's truly best for you, even if that means being patient.
Okay, so to summarize this deep dive, We've seen why parental concerns often have a valid basis in development and protection.
We've talked about potential red flags, secrecy, isolation, that "you're so mature" talk that can signal unhealthy dynamics.
And we've underlined the importance of open communication, thinking honestly about the situation and considering the timing.
Our goal wasn't to say these relationships never work or to take sides.
No, it was more about understanding the layers, the complexities, especially when a minor is involved.
We hope these different perspectives give you some useful tools for critical thinking.
Whether you're reflecting on your own experiences or maybe thinking about situations involving people you know.
And maybe it leaves you with a question to ponder.
Go on.
Considering everything we've discussed, the brain development, the power dynamics, what do you think are the absolute most crucial ingredients for any healthy, equitable relationship, no matter the ages involved?
Something to definitely think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.